Well, Hugh Freeze has given his first public interview since being relieved of his duties as Auburn's head coach. We're going to talk about it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Water Cooler Talk Sports. My name is Nick Frazier. If this is your first time around the water cooler, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share the content, comment on the content. Again, subscribe to the channel, man. We appreciate you so much for coming around here and rocking with us here around the water cooler at Water Cooler Talk Sports. If this is your second, third, fourth, fifth, 10th, 100th time watching us, please like the video, share the video. If you haven't subscribed, hopefully you subscribe to the channel, but subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to hitting 1,000 subscribers before the end of 2025, and we can't do it without you. So please subscribe to the channel and keep coming back and watching us and interacting with us. But let's get into the topic for today, man. I just watched the interview that Hugh Freeze did with David Pollack. Basically, I want to say this is his first public interview since he was relieved of his duties November 2nd as the head coach of Auburn University football. And I have some thoughts. But I will say this. I think it was a fair interview. I think David Pollack asked some fair questions. I think Hugh Freeze gave some very honest answers. A lot of the answers, when you watch the video, a lot of the answers are going to sound familiar. A lot of them are going to sound familiar because it was some of the same things you heard in post-game press conferences after Auburn would lose another close game and the offense didn't perform. It would be that. It would be those. A lot of them will be those same answers. But I just want to go through it because there was some things in here that was said that just kind of made me perk up and just go like, So, to start the interview off, he asked him about his emotions and, how he felt about it. And I have my notes right here of what I wrote down when I was watching it and I rewatched it. And he asked him, how do you feel? How are you feeling? Like he was like he has a mix of emotions and things and stuff of that nature. He mentioned that somebody sent to him and said, "Did you lead the young men and the staff in the right way?" And he said when he answered that question, he sent it to the coaches, and the coaches on the staff said that they led him in the right way. Now, we all know that Hugh Freeze has had a spiritual awakening, a religious awakening. So when he answers that question in the right way, when he leads them the right way, is he talking about in football terms, or is he talking about in the terms of leading men to Jesus Christ? Because I think that could be disseminated either way, and if you ask certain people, they would tell you, okay, well, maybe you did, maybe you were in the business of saving souls and leading people to the Lord. That's all fine and dandy. But did you lead them to wins on the football field? Is what some people will ask as well. Football coach, you get hired to win football games around here in the South. That's what a lot of people look at. He said, here's one of those motifs that you're going to hear a lot of. He said he wished he would have had more time because they were so close. They were so dang close, is what he said. So close. Take that how you want to. We've discussed that on this channel a lot about the so close narrative, about the narrative of being so close and how close Auburn really was and how close it felt from, the end of the season to what it looked like before the Kentucky loss and how that felt close and we've had that conversation. And I don't want to disseminate that anymore because a lot of people have a lot of different opinions about close. But he did say that he felt like they were close. That's what he said. He said, there's no question that we were really close, is what he said. He said he had the chance to lead one of the greatest programs and one of the greatest communities in Auburn, which I agree with. Auburn's a great place. Everybody that goes to Auburn says Auburn is a great place. It's hard to leave when you go there. He said he doesn't have any anger, but he has disappointment. Understandable. I don't know if you could be mad at I don't know if you could be angry about the result of you being relieved of your duty. But you can be disappointed about the process that went into making that result happen. Like the steps that went to that. Could he have done more in that situation? And could we be sitting here not having this video done right now? Could that interview not have happened? So I understand that you can't be angry or anger or have anger about the result, but you definitely can be disappointed about the steps that got to that result. So I understand that, man. He said in God's economy, he felt he led the right way, which is the reason why I said when he initially stated that when he sent that question to to his staff about did he lead them the right way, he mentioned that later on in that answer about in God's economy. Are you saying that you feel like you led them in the way of leading souls to Christ, which is a great thing? But did you lead them correctly on the football field as well? Did you lead them towards wins? Is the question as well. Um, and at the end of that answer, he said, man, he's won everywhere he's been except for Auburn, and that is something that he has to deal with. They won 10 games at Liberty, 10 plus games at Arkansas State, 10 plus games at Ole Miss. He said the only place he didn't do it was at Auburn. That's something he had to deal with. Yes, you will. He was asked a question about the difference at Auburn. You know, why was Auburn so different from the other places he's been? He said he really couldn't put his finger on it, but then proceeded to put his finger and highlight certain areas as to why. He said could have coached it better. We've heard that before as Auburn fans. He said mostly the offense didn't perform, but he said the defense made critical mistakes in critical downs in critical games. Said that. He said, but he did mention the officiating as well. He said he felt that officiating was a part of it and was a reason why that in two critical games, and we all know those two games he's talking about. Talk about the Oklahoma game and the Georgia game. Is what he's talking about. The fumble that was the fumble return for a touchdown that was called back, and then the touchdown fumble at the goal line that was upheld on the field as a fumble. He's talking about those two games. But when you look at the play on the field, those plays happened so early in the game that there was times that there was time for Auburn to overcome that and for Auburn to still come back and win the game. In the Oklahoma game, that was in the first quarter. That was on Oklahoma's first drive of the game. That happened. You still had 3.5 quarters left to get the team back refocused and to go win that football game. In the Georgia game, you were up 10-0. You would have scored there. You would have went up 17-0 against Georgia at home. That was at halftime. That was literally right before halftime. Georgia goes down the field and scores before halftime, and that game just changes. It was almost like after that play, it just changed the whole demeanor of the team. Says that he believes that they built a culture in a short time to win and that the roster was good enough to win. Don't know if I too much agree with the culture part of that, but he definitely did recruit well, and he definitely built a roster that was competitive, and that should have been more than a 5-win roster this year. Should have been a playoff contender roster, in my opinion. He was asked a question about how did he find out the news about him being relieved of his duties. He was asked that question. He said he was sitting in his office. He said an administrator that he was close with, who had an open door policy to his office, came in and kind of gave him the warning about what would happen. That's what he said. Said he kind of came in, gave him the warning about what's happening. It was an emotional time. And then he went over and met with John Cohen, and John Cohen officially told him what would happen. He said it happened Sunday morning. He said he got into the building Sunday morning, and that happened as well. That's what happened there, man. But he also said at the end of that, he said he thinks that John Cohen thinks highly of him and of the culture that he built at Auburn. Culture is a very, very buzzword here. I'm still trying to understand what that culture is. Still is. I really want to know that. And I'll be interested to know what some of the players and some of the other people around Auburn feel about that. That feels that way. He was asked a question about booster involvement, booster engagement in the program because of this narrative that a lot of people that have been interested in the Auburn job and then take it because there's always this narrative that boosters will insert themselves in the program and kind of try to dictate what the coach can do because they can't have and because the coach wouldn't have full control. He basically said he had zero issues with the boosters trying to insert themselves or be influential in the program, which is something that has been which is something that was reported throughout his tenure as Auburn. He was well liked by a lot of boosters. He even said it in his interview. He said that, and I'm going to paraphrase here. He said he was close to a couple of the most influential boosters at Auburn. So that question right there, I mean, when you could that be a skewed question because he was well liked by those guys? I mean, you compare that to a guy that you compare that to his predecessor who was not liked or not well received, and he got that fate earlier on because he was not their guy. So I mean, the narrative of boosters being involved in the program and things stuff like that. I don't think Hugh Freeze did not have that problem because he was liked by those guys. They enjoyed being around him. He called them friends. He said that he expected them to be friends for a lifetime. And said he said he never felt anything but support from the people in Auburn and never once felt like he didn't have control over what was going on in the building. Is what he said. Words from Hugh Freeze's mouth. Never once felt like he didn't have control over what was going on in the building. Tells you. Then the conversation went into kind of like the landscape of college football now, the system. They kind of touched on Lane Kiffin. He kind of spoke about making those kind of decisions and how he had to make the decision leaving from Arkansas State to go to Ole Miss, and then having to make the decision from leaving Liberty to Auburn, and how how you get close to those people at those universities, and how they're the reason why you had the opportunity to have the bigger opportunity. May not be better, but the bigger opportunity to go somewhere and prove what you've done on that level. He said that as well. Fair comment, fair statement. And then he also gave his opinion on what he thinks the calendar and what it should look like. He talked about not having mid-year enrollment. He talked about basically kind of moving spring practice to the June period, which is something that I said in the off season. This past off season was basically moving, spring practice to June, and just kind of moving the calendar that way. Basically moving signing day back to February to its original date, which is something that I totally agree with. Me and him agree with that there. And basically, just kind of like having that part to where you're not having to have signing day in like it's about to be right now. Signing day is tomorrow. Well, today, Wednesday, because we're shooting this on Tuesday, but it is on Wednesday today. And then having a portal where guys could leave. So you don't know what you have to get. I totally agree with him on that. He made a statement. He said that a system has been created to where it's either playoffs or fail. That's what it is. He said that's the system we in, and I agree with him there. Bowl games don't really matter anymore when they used to matter a lot. Going to a New Year's Six bowl game was a big deal before the college football playoff. But those bowl games don't matter because now they are part of the college football playoff. Majority of them are. Well, all of them are, and things and stuff like that. But I mean, I completely understand. Like me and him, I see eye to eye with him when he talks about the landscape of college football because a lot of the things that he says about that I agree with. He also even said getting rid of college of conference championship weekend and just having a 2014 playoff, which in the vein or in the aspect of college football being more of the playoff system, it makes sense. Just have a 2014 playoff as soon as the last you have the last game of the season, you take a week off, and then you start the playoff system from there. 2014 playoff system from there. Playoff bracket from there. I agree with it. I think it makes sense. It's funny. He was asked a question about what advice would he give to Alex Golesh. It was simple. He said he doesn't know Alex Golesh for real, but he said from what he's seen from Alex Golesh at USF, he's a really good coach. He has a really well coached football team. I think the only advice he really gave to him was he does have a lot of stuff on his plate, and he has to be able to meet with the players, and he has to be able to, manage all those personalities. But the biggest thing, retain the roster, is what he said. He said retain the roster. Is interesting, man. he was asked the question, one of his final questions he was asked. He said, it was like, Hugh Freeze is going to be doing what? And first thing that came in his mouth was, I'm not through coaching. Not through coaching at all, is what he said. He said he wants to coach again, and he has a great staff that's ready to go. He said that he was getting text messages from support people and guys that was like, Coach, where we going? We're ready to rock and roll, Richard. We're ready to go. That's what he said. That is what he said in the interview. He said that the body of work that he's put out should speak for itself. That's what he said. He said he said the quarterback development that he has shown with guys like Malik Willis, guys like Chad Kelly, guys like Bo Wallace, guys like Ryan Applin should speak for themselves because that is his body of work, is what he said. Now, granted, he didn't mention Peyton Thorne or Jackson Arnold in that in with those guys, because those guys he handpicked. I'm just saying, or stuck beside. He did say this though. This was interesting. He said that he has gotten a couple of calls from places to see where he can fit in at potentially as a head coach, and some places that aren't even open at the moment where a coach is still in place. Words from Hugh Freeze's mouth in the interview. Paraphrasing that, but that's what he said. He also said that he is a little pissed off too. So he's a little pissed off because he knows he was dang close. That's what he said. He said he knows he's dang close, and he's a little pissed off because of the fact that they were dang close. And he's ready to get back into coaching. He said he doesn't know if that's taking a year off and spending time with his family or if that's getting right back into it. But he said his best. He said he wants to know what's best for the Freezes. For the Freezes. That makes sense. Completely understand him. Completely understand where he comes from there. Does he want to jump back into it? Or does he want to spend some time with his family before he decides to make that happen? Hopefully he sits down and reminisces on what it is that he needs to do in order to be more process focused and more detail oriented when it comes to that, because the stories, and we've all heard the stories coming out of Auburn about what it was in the building and how the program was ran on the offensive side of the ball and how it just did not look like that of a program that would be an SEC type program, or the attention to trying to be better every day. We've all heard these stories that has come out. But hopefully he has a chance to sit down and reminisce over that and say, all right, man, this is what I need to do to be better. Hopefully he has that self-reflection, and he's able to make those changes. I don't know. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. We'll see. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. Final question was, he said he had back surgery. Now, this was the funny part of the interview to me, because I was like, bruh, stop. He said now that he got his back fixed, he could play golf again, because he's like the narratives that were coming out of Auburn about him playing golf were just wrong. Just wrong. That's what he said. And I think he said he honestly can say that he can play golf again, is what he said. That's what he said. He said he honestly can say he can play golf again. And I'm like, all right, man. Okay. All right, we'll just let you ride with that. Oh my God. But it is what it is, man. Hugh Freeze's first interview since being relieved of his duties on November 2nd as Auburn's head coach. This is the thing. All of my criticism for Hugh Freeze has always been about him as a football coach and what he did for Auburn. And what he has to understand, and I hope he understands, is that I've been an Auburn fan for majority of my life. You were only here for 3 years. I deal with this every year as an Auburn fan. So when I talk about this, I talk about it from a place of very, very deep attachment to the Auburn football program, because I've watched it and I've enjoyed watching it. I'm a true fan. You're gone, my guy. You're gone. So my thing is, man, I hope we never have to talk about Hugh Freeze again as the Auburn football coach. I hope this is the last time we have the conversation of seeing of anything coming up here. I'm pretty sure there are going to be jokes that come up and down about Hugh Freeze and the golf and all types of stuff. I'm pretty sure those conversations will happen. But I hope this is the last time that we have to address this. I really do. But I'm pretty sure there'll be more interviews. I'm pretty sure there will be. But all my criticism about Hugh Freeze has always been about him as a coach. Met him once. He probably doesn't even remember it. If he watches this, you probably don't even remember me, my guy. Met him one time. He seemed like a cool dude. He was about his business. But as a football coach, man, got to be more careful. That's all that mattered to me, winning football games. That's what it was about. As a fan, we want to see our team win football games. Get back to that. Well, I wish him nothing but the best. Hopefully one of those schools that called him, hopefully one of those situations worked out for him, and we'll see him back on the sidelines. And hopefully him being pissed off is the battery in his back that gets him back to what a lot of people say was missing. Wish you the best, Coach Freeze.